So the aircraft was meant to enter service in 2020, and the latest we heard from Boeing was entry into service in 2026. Now we understand that's going to go to 2027. And that sort of means that for Boeing, it's a massive impact on cash because this aircraft has been years in development and Boeing is looking to sort of convert all those orders into cash flow. And so that just postpones it. And we understand that Boeing is going to be having to take a multi-billion-dollar charge on this program at their next earnings because of the delay and essentially the fact that they can't get cash in through the door for those aircraft.
So this is essentially a profit warning from Boeing before its latest results. Sid, which companies, which airliners are most affected by the delay of this 777?
So the 777X is a brand new aircraft that's meant to replace the older A380, and the 747 is the biggest aircraft that Boeing has worked on. And essentially this would replace those aircraft. And so the airlines like Lufthansa, we've seen Emirates place the biggest customer for this. Qatar Airways has ordered some. And so essentially the airlines that do long haul services carrying lots of people, those are the ones that are really affected. And essentially that delays their retirements of older aircraft and the introduction of more sort of fuel efficient brand new aircraft.
Sid, I guess just once more revives kind of the concern about the engineering and production capabilities of Boeing that were highlighted over the last several years. I don't know, is that fair, do you think? Or have they kind of put a lot of that behind them here?
They have put a lot behind them, and the indication from Boeing, I mean, the CEO, Kelly Ortberg, sort of flagged these issues, and he sort of said that this was more a paperwork issue rather than an engineering setback issue. But at the same time, this aircraft has been long delayed. I mean, it was slated to enter into service in 2020, and so it's already 5 years late, and now it's possibly going to be 7 years late. And so it does sort of talk about the certification delays that Boeing's got to get through, including on the 737 MAX, where the MAX 7 and the MAX 10, which are the smallest and the largest variants of the MAX, have still to be certified. And that is, again, a very important sort of source of cash for Boeing. And so it is one of the challenges that Kelly Ortberg has to get through as Boeing sort of goes into the next phase of growth and essentially turns the corner on its various challenges it's had in the last couple of years.
So put this into context for us. Where does Airbus stand with the release of its latest versions of its airliners? If Airbus is also being held up by different reasons, then maybe this isn't so bad for Boeing.
Yeah, so Airbus has a different problem. They have issues with production, and so they're unable to produce enough planes. And so while Airbus doesn't have any aircraft currently in certification, I mean, the latest aircraft, the A321XLR, has entered into service. They have a different issue. They have issues with supply of parts, and they can't make those planes fast enough to get them to customers. So the customer is really sort of struggling on both ends because on one hand, if you've got an Airbus order book, you're waiting on delayed aircraft. If you're a Boeing customer, you're waiting on aircraft that are still to be certified. In both cases, you can't have those planes in your fleet and flying around for you and making money for you. So for the airline, regardless of whether it's a certification delay or whether it's a production delay, it is a delay.
It is a delay. And we keep talking about this duopoly between Boeing and Airbus, but is there any other aircraft manufacturer that could kind of fill the hole in the meantime for these airliners?
Unfortunately not. I mean, the duopoly is here to stay for the conceivable future. And Comac, the Chinese aircraft manufacturer, is talking about building, I mean, they are building the competitor to the 737 and the A320, but they're building in very small numbers, and it's going to be a very long time before they're able to scale up and match the production cadence that Boeing and Airbus have. And they don't have a wide-body aircraft. And similarly, Brazil's Embraer builds smaller regional jets, and so they aren't really a competitor. So at the moment, the only options for airlines, if they want an aircraft, are either Boeing or Airbus, and they're both struggling with order books sold out until the end of the decade, and essentially it's going to be a tough struggle for them.